May proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had some discussion just a little bit ago about this issue, but I'll call this the Pay Down the Debt Amendment. In a hearing just last week, actually in a subcommittee of this committee, former U.S. Comptroller General David Walker said federal spending levels have grown by almost 300% net of inflation over the last 40 years. And he went on to say that we are in worse financial shape than we tell people or that we admit to people, and the government is currently on an unsustainable long-term fiscal path. And certainly there are many that think that Mr. Walker is right, and the spending going on here in Washington has been out of control. In the last fiscal year, the United States has run a nearly $1.5 trillion deficit. That's a $1.5 trillion with 12 zeros. It equals 9.9% of our nation's economy. There's no doubt that this type of spending ultimately jeopardizes our long-term fiscal health in the United States and threatens the future of our children and grandchildren. So that's why I'm offering this amendment along with the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Lance, and the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Neugebauer. It basically would require or mandate that all proceeds that are returned to the government from this legislation, the $30 billion, would be used, in fact, to pay down the nation's debt. And it's my fear that the $30 billion that's been authorized for this legislation ultimately could be used for sort of walking around money. We've seen that with TARP, where it's been extended for a longer period of time than was originally intended. And let's just guarantee that this money actually will go back to pay down the national debt at a time when we've got nearly $13 trillion debt now for our nation. Borrowing and spending billions, tens of billions of dollars more is not the right track to be on. So it's just an amendment to make sure that that is returned to the taxpayers and the government, Mr. Chair.